I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my sponsor, Rycore Countertops. They deal in custom countertops in quartz, Corian, Meganite, laminate, and butcher block. They also have custom kitchen cabinetry, closets, laundry rooms, and millwork. They're family owned and operated for 18 years, knowledgeable and highly experienced staff, and friendly customer service. Head on over to 1069 Clark Road. Check out their showroom today. Okay, welcome to Studio 88. Today I'm sitting with Manny Alfaro. He's my co-main event for June 15th event in Windsor. Manny, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And thanks for taking the drive. That 2-hour drive from Windsor is boring.
I know.
It's the worst drive ever.
Nothing there.
They say it's the most dangerous stretch of highway in Canada. That's what I heard. And it's from like Chatham to Windsor. A lot of accidents. Boring. Yeah. So, Manny, I brought you in today because I kind of wanted to get to know you a little bit better in the brief amount of time that we do have. So tell me about yourself. Were you born and raised in Windsor?
Actually, no. Most people don't know this, but I grew up in Chatham.
Chatham?
Little old Chatham.
Like born and raised?
No, I was born in El Salvador. I grew up part of my life in East LA. Probably one of the worst areas you could ever think of. I grew up in gangland, like for a short part of my life. Mm-hmm. And then my parents decided, we got to get the hell out of here. Yeah. Which was great.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that life could take you nowhere really fast. So what got you into fighting? Was that something that, was it your upbringing? Was your family? Do you have brothers? Do the brothers beat you up all the time? Is that one of those things you wanted to get better?
No, actually, they did beat me up all the time. So that was one thing, but that's not why I got into fighting. What ended up happening was my dad had a friend that opened a boxing gym in Chatham. So
what was the name of the gym?
KO Boxing Club. And that's where I got started. That's where everything started. Walked in, and my brother and I actually decided to box. I have two brothers, but my one brother's a wimp.
Are they older or younger?
Older.
Okay. Yeah. So are you the baby?
I'm the baby and the brothers. I got two sisters as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So big family.
Big family, yeah. We showed up to boxing club day one, and we just kind of took it in, and it was just natural for us. Both my brother and I are great boxers, and we did a lot of good things in boxing, and it was just right from the beginning. We just knew that we were gonna be fighters. We fought on the streets sometimes, more so my brothers. That was more like a goody two shoes. But when we got in the ring, we just knew. We're like, oh, we love this.
What do you do for work outside of this?
Well, I do nursing at Windsor Regional Hospital, and then I've also contract work for St. Clair College as a professor there.
Okay. Oh, so you teach?
Yeah, I teach. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I love it.
I knew you were a nurse, but I didn't know you. What do you teach at? What do
you? So I do labs, clinical labs, and then I also take students into the hospital so that they get experience on the units. And basically, I take them through the whole rotation of what it would be like to become a nurse.
Wow, so, I didn't know that. I always thought it was just like nursing. I didn't know you did all that extra stuff too.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
So when do you have time to train?
Oh, I make it happen, man. I just, after work, typically, I was working actually at one point 12 hours, and then I would go train afterwards, and it was killing me. Like,
where are you training?
I'm training at Michigan Top Team.
Okay.
Yeah, over in Michigan. It's unbelievable. The team is just insane.
Tell me about them.
So we got, we call him the General. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about this guy, Darren Cruikshank.
Yep. Oh, yeah, he's a killer.
So
Best mustache in the game, too. Shout out to Darren Cruikshank.
Love this guy. Yeah, Darren, love you, buddy. But so what ended up happening was I ended up talking to Kara Rowe from Windsor.
She's a commentator for this event coming up. She tell you that?
No.
Yeah, she's doing the play-by-play.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
okay,
play-by-play. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm excited. I'm excited that she's a part of it, actually. She's a huge staple in the area.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Go on, sorry.
She's done, no worries. Yeah, she's done a lot of wonderful things in boxing community. Now she hopped into the MMA community. And
she off to Japan?
Today? Yes.
She's cornering somebody in Japan.
Darren Cruikshank.
That's right.
He's fighting, and he has a tough fight. Like the guy that he's fighting, 7 fight win streak, 7 knockouts.
Oh wow!
But then you got Darren.
He's an animal, complete animal.
Yeah, like I was just sparring with him the other day, right? So when Darren and I spar, it takes me back to the old school of when I used to box. Like there's a big change that has happened in like MMA with science,
Mm-hmm.
technology. People are realizing that you probably shouldn't get hit in the head that much.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I believe maybe you're looking at 10, 15 years ago. Um, from my experience, I used to come into the gym and I knew that I was going to be having a war every single day, right? And I trained with guys like Andrew Cooner,
Mm-hmm.
Adam Trupish, Mary Spencer, Jesse Ennis, all these guys, like top level boxers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Olympians, world champions, national champions. So we went in every single day and we sparred as if we were fighting. And we were taking shots, that we would take in fights. And that's how we prepared. It's a little bit different now. A lot of fighters have slowed down on that. They spar less. They do more technical work. But
I think that's the better way to do it.
it is.
I think it gives you more shelf life.
Absolutely does. Yeah, you save your brain.
Yeah, it's a pummeling that you shouldn't be taking. It's bad enough that you're taking the risk going into the ring or the cage, and taking that those unnecessary punishment for something that you love to do. But to do the training part of it, you're the constant beating, the headaches, hats off to all you guys that do that stuff, man, because it takes a special kind of person for sure.
It is one of those things for me because that's what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm. How old are you?
I'm 35.
35.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing
in this game for about almost 25 years.
How long have you been doing MMA?
I started.
Why'd you transition? If boxing was like if you start boxing. And boxing, like me growing up, I always watched boxing. Boxing was to me a thing that was on TV all the time. I was watching all the greats, and then MMA came around, but it caught me back in the '90s, but it not as much as it did until like after 2000. Then I was like, oh, okay, and it got more regulated. What got you into it? Is it?
Well, I was always actually fascinated with like kicking and stuff like that. I didn't know how to kick, but I was fascinated, and I would watch people back home in Chatham. Just local guys that, did karate and stuff like that. But then I went to University of Windsor and I was going to school and I ended up getting an email from a guy named Mark Hominick, and I'm sure you guys know him.
Oh, yeah.
So he had just messaged me saying that he wanted to come into a boxing gym that I was at. So he came to the boxing gym and I ended up working with him a lot while we were at the boxing gym. And when he came in, he probably was very excited to see that when we were boxing at that time, Windsor was flourishing with talent. Like
there's an unbelievable amount of talent
unbelievable
in Windsor alone.
Olympians,
something in the water. Yeah, for sure.
Up to wazoo, we had national champions, world champions. Everybody was coming from around the world to train with us. And then Mark had come to the Windsor Amateur Boxing Club, and that's where I was training. So we ended up setting up times to spar, and I would see him he would use our bags and he would kick the bags and do all these weird things that I was just like, that's pretty cool. So he would actually invite me, and this is actually a crazy story. He would call me up and say, hey, I need guys, to work with, and he would call his buddies, and then I would call my buddies, and we would show up. He lived in these dorms, not the small dorms. He had a house,
okay,
but they were part of the university, and we'd hop into his house, clear his living room, and we would all just grapple.
No way.
And he would just kick the shit out of everybody. So, yeah, and I remember one day he takes me in his room and he shows me all his belts. I didn't know that Mark Hominick was Mark Hominick.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you didn't know?
No, I thought, he was just this little white guy from London that was, coming out to try to box, and he was a good kickboxer, and then when I seen the belts, I'm like, I went online, looked him up, and I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, this guy's
decorated.
legit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so, the respect grew, and, that inspired me a little bit to kind of look into MMA. Yeah. And I was just like, crap. So
Mark Hominick was
he was my inspiration for MMA.
Wow,
yeah.
that's amazing. This is the second interview that I've sat with somebody and Mark's name come up.
No
and I imagine it would be something that a good majority of us would talk about because he is such a
great guy. He's
an icon for us.
Absolutely.
All of us. We look at him because he's your To me, he's like a mini George St. Pierre.
Yeah, yeah,
And I say that because he's so respectful and
absolutely.
but
Yeah,
he can destroy you at any moment he wanted to.
I know.
Really.
Yeah, and like ever since I met him, he's just been such a humble guy. Like everything about him, like just scram like champion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so after that, I remember the first time that I fought actually in anything related to MMA was here in London.
Really?
It was just a smoker show.
Okay.
So
Where was that?
it
Tell me
was
about. I want
at
to hear about that.
this is a crazy story. So I was at I don't think it was called Adrenaline when Tompkins was around.
Okay. Hard Knocks.
Was it?
Yeah, it was
Was
Hard
it Hard
Knocks.
Knocks? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Back in the day, they would have smoker shows. So I went to watch one. Came down with a couple buddies, and what ended up happening was they lost one of the fights. So Mark comes into the crowd and he goes, "Hey, can you fight?" And I didn't know we were gonna be kicking because I never kicked. I didn't know how to kick. And then I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." And right away I was like thinking boxing. So I'm like, "Yeah, let's fight." And I agreed to it right away. Went to the back. Mark throws me some shins and all that, and I'm like looking down. I'm like, "What the hell are these for?"
That's hilarious. And that was your first.
That was my first.
Taste.
So Mark's like, "Yeah, don't worry. Just you'll be fine." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Who am I fighting?" So I was fighting a real young guy. I was in my 20s, and this guy was like I think 15, but it was Chris Hordecki.
Really? So
Yeah.
tell me. So what happened?
Oh, we went in, and I'm in my boxing stance, and Chris just freaking lit my leg up so hard. I got kicked, and I was just like, "Holy shit!" I'm like, "That hurts," because I've never been kicked like
Yeah.
that. So we I kind of had to adapt and like switch my stance. I'm like, I can't be getting kicked like this. That I won't be able to walk tomorrow. So the fight went. It was a back and forth fight, and I used my boxing,
Mhm.
as much as I could. I was like, okay, if I don't like rush this guy and just get all over him with my boxing, I'm gonna get killed. And so that's the only thing that saved me because Hordecki is a monster.
Yeah. He was my first main event.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was my first pro show that I did. He was the main event.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that.
I was super
just-
excited because I watched him throughout the years.
Yeah.
And he's a killer.
He
But when you
is.
look at him, he's so like
Yeah, he's just
he's
a
kind
nice
and funny,
nice
and
guy,
he's super relaxed. But
Yeah.
but in there, he's different. He's a different animal.
Yeah. I
So,
mean,
tell me about your first cage fight.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that. That's what I want to hear too.
okay, so this was back in that was over 10 years ago now. So it was in Michigan. I was training at MTC at Windsor,
Okay.
right?
Great job.
Yeah. A lot of great guys come out of
Killers.
there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we got Kyle that just came out of there.
I know. It's
Right from
amazing.
UFC. I love that guy, So I went and I fought at Donna Frio's in Michigan.
Okay.
So he was having like the biggest shows back then. And so I was just an amateur, went over to Michigan, and the rules like Donna Frio, and they were one of the main like companies that were doing it.
Mhm.
There wasn't too much around. There wasn't any rules. There was really no sanctioning. So what ended up happening, I get to the fight, my guy doesn't show up. And then there's a few other guys that their opponents just didn't show up. And, that's something that happened all the time. So you can go to a show, they don't show up, and you just got to go back home, right? No experience.
All that travel and all that
Yeah.
time wasted in putting the fights together for
Exactly.
the training, and then to show up and the
Exactly.
guy didn't even come. So what happened?
So I go in, and I'm supposed to fight. At that point, I was a little bit fat. So I was like about 160,
Okay.
right, going in. And then my guy was supposed to be around the same weight. Fluctuate. They probably would do like 165. But since he didn't show up, this other guy, his guy didn't show up. He was about 180.
Mhm.
So we just kind of agreed to fight. We're just like, you know what?
You just
We're
did
both here. Let's just
So
go
what
in.
happened?
So I go in. I meet the guy, and he's freaking just jacked. This big, big dude, big ass head, freaking just ripped to shreds. And I'm like, I got the experience and all that in boxing,
Mhm.
but my first MMA show. So we went, And it was funny because I had some friends in the crowd that came to watch. And when this guy walked out, they were all like, holy shit, we feel bad for who this guy's going to fight. Because he looked mean.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked out and they seen it was me and they were like, oh crap. But I was like, okay, this guy's a lot bigger than me.
Yeah.
So I got to get my respect. And I always knew that when you walked into the ring, if you don't get your respect, you're going to get mauled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that one of the golden greats of boxing as a coach was Charlie Stewart. And this guy's, his accolades run up to, I couldn't even tell you how many champions he's made. But this guy would tell me that all the time, get your respect. He's like, when you walk in the ring, make sure you get your respect right away. So that's what I did. I walked right in and I just threw a double jab and I threw a solid right hand right to this guy's jaw and I rocked him and he dropped. But he was a big, strong dude and I didn't know what to do. Like I wasn't so, well versed on the ground. I was relying on my stand up.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of like tried to wrestle the guy and he ended up getting me on my back. And we just kept fighting. And the fight actually was a very exciting and competitive fight back and forth. We both cut each other. First time I had ever been cut. And, I took him down once almost by accident. Like we were just scrambling and, we ended up on the ground and I ended up on top. And I really didn't know what to do. So I just started doing what I seen on TV and I started I was
hammer
like
fist?
hammer fisting, but I didn't really know how to. So probably looked stupid. But we ended up going to a split decision. Unfortunately, he won.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a great experience. And then I was hooked. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
So what the difference between boxing? How many amateur boxing matches do you have?
I had 50.
50?
Yeah, 50.
Wow.
Which is, and
This is
amateur
normal. That's
boxing
normal.
that's really low actually.
Really?
Yeah, like some of my training partners had 200 to 300 fights.
That's insane.
Like Cooner and Troupish, both Olympians.
Yeah.
These guys literally fought every weekend. Like they were going from fight to fight to fight to fight. Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's intense. Do you know anything about the guy you're fighting this time in June 15th?
Not too much.
Or do you even care?
I don't care too much. No.
How do you feel co-maining the fights?
Oh, I feel good. I've done co-main main events in the past, and it's no different.
And you're fighting at home. How does that make you feel?
That feels great. I haven't fought here.
Like not having to travel, knowing that you can sleep in your own bed before the fight.
Exactly.
That's exciting. I'm actually really happy that you're a part of it.
Thank you, man.
Too.
We're honored, man.
I was super
we're honored.
I pushed for it as hard as I could.
Yeah, I remember when I messaged you guys. Mm-hmm. I know you guys were happy.
Yeah, because I was. It doesn't make any sense to have a Windsor card and not have you on it. It doesn't make. You have to have all the Windsor guys.
Yeah.
And the lineup.
It's great.
Is intense.
Yes.
So, tell everybody where we can find you.
Yeah.
On social media and give us some shout outs to some sponsors.
That'd be great. Yeah. So you can find me on MannyBox83. That's on Instagram. If you look for me on Facebook, it's just Manuel.a. And yeah, definitely want to give a shout out to the sponsors. These guys have been amazing. And, with the expenses that we have crossing the border training at Michigan Top Team, which is like the best team around. I've been to many, many gyms and Michigan Top Team is just unmatched. Like in this area, they're the best. They're the best in Michigan. As far as I'm concerned, they're the best, from here to Toronto and further. But without our sponsors, we would not have been able to do anything. Randy and I, it would have been very difficult, so expensive.
I can imagine balancing full-time job.
Yeah.
Training for fights, paying for the fights, paying for your own.
Just to travel to the States, because we have to pay at the border every time, right? Mm-hmm. The travel going back and forth. And so we were kind of doing a little bit of an estimation of how much we spend a month. So just paying at the border. So you're paying about, I think, $625 each way. Mm-hmm. So you look at that, and we go about 4 or 5 days a week right now. So multiply it, and then you're paying gas.
What do they ask at the border? I always wondered that. Like, if you're crossing every day, like, do you tell them, just say, I'm going over to train and come back, and they don't give you a hard time?
Oh, yeah, I get pulled in every single time.
Really?
Because I don't have my P1 visa there. So the P1 visa is it's the visa that allows athletes to do what they do in other countries. So I didn't have that. It wasn't until Donald Trump got elected that all this stuff started happening. And I almost thought it was going to happen because he was enforcing all these policies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how Donald wants to keep everybody out of the country. You know, he wants to build walls and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So with our side of the border here, he I think these were always laws that were there but not enforced.
Gotcha.
But his policies got enforced, and I went over one time. On the way over, they asked me, if I fought, and I said yeah, because it had never been an issue. He's like, "Do you have a P1 visa?" I had no clue what it was. I'm like, "What's that?" And they're like, "Well, you need a P1 visa to be able to fight over here." I said, "Really?" I'm like, "Well, I didn't know that. No one has ever said anything." Pull me in. I'm sitting in there for like an hour and a half, and they're like interrogating me. What do you do? Where you, where do you work back home? Ask me a million questions, making me wait. Then they basically told me that if I came back, that they were going to ban me from the States for 10 years if I came back, because I was supposed to fight 3 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
So
how'd you get around that?
I couldn't fight. It got canceled. Yeah, the fight got canceled.
So is that for any athlete coming from Canada going to
Any athlete
to
going,
Michigan?
yeah, we need a P1 visa, yeah. So with Randy, now that she's turned pro, we're going to have to get her a P1 visa. Yeah, so she doesn't have to encounter the same issues that I
Yeah,
did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So now it's been difficult for a little bit, but we're kind of getting past that, and we're rolling into the States almost every day. It takes us about an hour and a half to get to our gym, but it's well worth it. Like we're very content with spending the time to get there and to get the experience that we get from these world-class athletes over there, right? It's we cherish that very much.
That's a lot of dedication.
Yeah,
that's a
what
lot
it
of
takes.
dedication. It's admirable, man. I love that.
Yeah, thank you, man.
So give us a shout out to your sponsors.
Absolutely, yeah. So again, like I said, couldn't do this without them. We love all you guys, and thank you very much for helping us out. I got a list just because we have a few.
It. Yeah, take your time.
So first of all, we want to thank Michigan Top Team. Amazing. They've really elevated our game. We want to thank Alpha Grind, Armando's Pizza in Windsor, Roofing Gods, Penalty Box, Rodriguez Construction, Fred's Farm Fresh, Catching Muscle, and Sterling Mutual Incorporated. Yeah, like I said, thank you guys so much. We appreciate everything you do for us. And Randy and I, we're going to go out there and we're going to smash whoever they put in front of us every time. So thank you too, Jamie, for holding the show. We appreciate it.
Yeah, do whatever I can for you guys. Okay, join us June 15th, the St. Denis Center in Windsor. You can get your tickets at prospectfights.com. Show's almost sold out. Nice. Tickets are moving super, super, super fast, and the Windsor community has been a great support. But Manny, thanks for coming.
Hey, thank you.
I'll see you June 14th for the weigh-ins.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right.